So we read about the need in the inconscience, the infant longing. And this infant longing is the birth of aspiration. And this aspiration, even if it is little small, Aurobindo describes in the Synthesis of Yoga, even a little bit of aspiration, however small, it can open the door, even the smallest of wicket gates, narrowest of wicket gates, any name, any form, and it's enough to call down the grace. So the entire yoga is essentially between the call and the grace. This infant longing will grow more and more into conscious aspiration eventually. And when conscious aspiration is born, then of course the call is there, and then in response there is the grace. And everything happens between the call and the grace. All the rest are events and circumstances and a working out of, as Aurobindo says in Savitri, what is fate? Fate is truth working out in ignorance. So if the call is there and the grace is there in response to the call, all else is a question of time, play of time. So in Savitri also, in the very beginning, this infant longing which comes in the inconscient, the cry which goes, brings a response, and this is how Aurobindo describes the coming down of the Divine Mother. She comes in response to this longing in the inconscient. On page 4, ambassadoress twixt eternity and change. What a word he has used, ambassadors. See, ambassadors are always in other countries, but they belong to their parent nation. So they are the ones who, on behalf of the parent nations, they are representing in another domain what they have, the mandate they have in their homes or in their parent place. So typically used in political terms. So the ambassador to a country represents the country. He is immune from everything, and ambassador communicates the will of let's say the prime minister or the president of a certain country. So she is the ambassadoress. What is her parent home? Eternity. And where has she come? Into this world of change. So whatever she will execute, that will be taken as granted by the eternal. So this is the beautiful description. That's why in the Mother, Aurobindo says that whatever the Divine Mother grants, promises, that becomes a fiat of the Supreme. Because that's what the grace is here for. The omniscient goddess leaned across the breadths that wrap the fated journeyings of the stars. Such a marvelous line, just to, enjoy this. She is coming from the realm where all is known. But she is coming into a realm where all is uncertain. Fated journeying of the stars. That's why normally people say that fate, they equate with the movement of the stars. So what does it mean? That fate is something which is the result of a cosmic movement taking place at a level. And this cosmic movement has its individual repercussion on every life. So she's omniscient, and then she leans across the breadths. There is a zone till which she is the one who knows and determines fate, but now she comes into the realm where she chooses to bear the burden of fate, journeying of the stars, and saw the spaces ready for her feet. So this is the whole problem, that there has to be certain degree of readiness for the earth to bear the contact of the Supreme. So this is where we are in the very first canto. Aurobindo reveals to us that who is this omniscient goddess who has come after describing that beautiful morning symbol, Usha, dawn. It is none else but Savitri. So Savitri takes a human body, and when she takes a human body, how would she have looked upon this earth and creation? Includes all of us. So that is described in the very same canto on page 6. And Savitri too awoke among these tribes. So she is born in a certain tribe, clan, family, and she looks like everybody else. God assumes the human form, the human shape, because He has to show the way to humanity. And yet there is the difference. What marks the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary, if we may say so, is the seeking, the aspiration, what we are born with. And Savitri is born with something else than what the tribe amongst which she has come is seeking. And Savitri too awoke among these tribes that hastened to join the brilliant summoner's chant. The brilliant summoner, I have never heard any equivalent term for Surya. He comes alive. He is brilliant, but he is not just inactive. He is waking us up. Summoner, come, call, he is calling. Why is he calling? He is calling up there for the great effort, the adventure of consciousness and joy. So he gives us energy and power and light. But what about us that hasten to join the brilliant summoner's chant and, lured by the beauty of the apparent ways, acclaim their portion of ephemeral joy? This is mankind. So the divine consciousness comes. Let's zoom in onto our present situation. The Divine Mother is here. Aurobindo are there. They are both here. What do we go and ask them? Apparent ways, lures of the apparent ways. Once one of the now he is no more, an old sadhak who was very close and friendly. So people often used to describe, he said, when she was there, like fools and idiots, we would ask her only these things, कि हमारे college में ये problem है, I have this problem in my college, can you sort it out? Somebody else has got a promotion which was due to me. There is a money which was going to come, it has got blocked. About children, about this and that. She was right there. And yet we were asking these inanities. Much later one realizes it. Because lured by the beauty of the apparent ways. And what do we do with these gifts is another story that's recounted in the biblical story. People often say God is late in the coming, but when Christ came, He started healing. To the blind He gave eyes, to the lame He made him walk, to the deaf He gave him ears. And then what did He see after some time? He saw the people who had eyes, they were trying to snatch away other people's eyes. The lame who could walk were running to the tavern. And those who had the ears were tuning their ears to all kinds of noise and gossip and rhythm. So He said, better, man is not ready right now. So she has also come and she sees that the world is not ready. And very passingly, Aurobindo reveals a secret that she has, why there is death. So Savitri has come. Time's message of brief light was not for her. In her there was the anguish of the gods. So all children, all parents who want godlike beings for their children, as their children, should be careful. When Krishna came, he had upset the whole world. And all these, that's why in Indian culture, even now, when child is very naughty, they say, baby Krishna. I don't know why he's associated only with naughtiness, because they upset. Mother spoke about it, that the children who are going to come now, in the future, so they are going to be very different. It will be very difficult to bring them up. So parents can aspire for them and they will come. But when they come, they are going to upset the old world order. They are not going to become sadhu bacha who are always listening to parents and everything, because they will be governed by something else, a deeper truth, the anguish of the gods. These children are very unhappy when they see the world as it is. They want it to change. They may not have the key, but they are born with an idealistic fervor. So Savitri has brought with her the anguish of the gods. imprisoned in a transient human mold, the deathless, conquered by the death of things. So here comes the problem. A vaster nature's joy had once been hers, but long could keep not its gold heavenly hue, or stand upon this brittle earthly base. This is the problem. There is a twofold problem of fate. It's not that divine wants us to suffer and struggle. Mother says this, my child, why do you think the divine is a spoilsport who wants to give unhappiness? He doesn't want. But the nature of material life is such, this is the number one problem, that this matter cannot hold that light and joy for long. And that's why the divine takes a human body. Because for a long time, matter has to adapt. That's how the mother describes. When she speaks of Savitri, one of them is the effort of the Divine Mother to adapt to a world of falsehood. Because when she has to take a human body, that means all the things, imprints, associations, habits, she speaks about it later on in Yoga of the Cells. They are our inheritance. And all this animality, the body responds so easily to animal things, to desire. But it responds so weakly to aspiration. It cannot hold an aspiration for long. But desire, it can for weeks and years, till finally it sees the end of it in frustration. This is how human nature is. But this brittle, fragile earthly vase cannot hold that flame. This is the real problem, that matter is yet imperfect. So she takes the human body, and what does she bring with her? As I said, the Divine Mother has come. She will bring some gifts. All mothers bring gifts. So the other day we were reading about all the gifts she has brought for us. Here there is a little description. She had brought with her into the human form the calm delight that weds one soul to all. This is the secret of delight multiplying itself. This is what actually human relations are meant for. To multiply the delight of individual existence. But most often, you lose even that little delight or joy that you had in your little individual life when you enter into relationship. This is the sad story. But it is meant to multiply delight. And just imagine if delight could multiply so many times, what this world would be. Where each one, when you met the other, there is a suddenly increase of delight. That's why even now we follow that pattern. Nobody likes to watch a music concert or a movie or go for dinner alone. Try doing that. Ever heard? I have gone alone to watch this concert. You want always, chaloge, hey, not one ticket, you want 2 tickets at least. Because it multiplies. It's meant for that. But unfortunately, we multiply suffering. But she has got the secret of multiplying this delight. The calm delight that weds one soul to all. This is the secret. The key to the flaming doors of ecstasy. This is the key she has brought with her to the flaming doors of ecstasy. What a beautiful description. Flaming doors. The fire through which one has to cross to discover this ecstasy. One cannot arrive at this ecstasy without a thorough purification. Flaming doors. So we reach the flaming door and we are told there is ecstasy beyond. Are you sure we have to go through this fire? Well, without the fire of purification, there is no transformation. Ecstasy. She speaks of that delight. Divine is all delight. But she says to actually, for delight to be established here, one has to be a super Parsifal. Parsifal. I didn't find the meaning in dictionary, but fortunately she explained. She says you should have not even the slightest need for pleasure. So, if you go through this flaming door, suddenly you will be void of all pleasure. So when you come back out, you will look like a very cold fellow. Who knows? Because all that gives leaps at joy may be gone. So this is the purification through which one has to pass. But what does the earth give in return? We also, when parents come, they bring things for us. And one kind of child which we should not be is always complaining. Mama, you got me married here. This is what a horrible home. It has spoilt my life. Now, poor mama, what will she do? She will only give you more, whatever she can do. You have to make of this raw material into something beautiful. Nobody can do it for you. But what do we give back to the mother when she comes? All our complaints and grudges. Not all children, fortunately. That's why this is what demarcates, really speaking, a beautiful child. He will not burden the parent with all his troubles and problems. Of course, with the Divine Mother we give all this. But how much better if we return to her joy for joy, love for love. So here comes this our offering. Earth's grain that needs the sap of pleasure and tears, rejected the undying rapture's boon. I'm reminded of those when people tell a story and people intercept. Fir kya hua? Fir kya hua? Now, tell us the end, tell us the end. They say, okay, in the end all was beautiful. Oh, that doesn't make sense. So a story must have all the twists and turns. If you want the end, well, that's how it will be all beautiful. Why not? So this is how we are too much in that. It rejects the undying rapture. Imagine if somebody says that, what you will get when you come to Mother and Aurobindo, the undying rapture. What we say, why is it in English? Oh, Paramanand. Oh, so we will translate it in our head as forever assurance for food security. Paramanand. My husband will never fight with me. Paramanand. My children will obey whatever I say. This is how it will get translated. So what we do is, earth rejected the undying rapture's boon, offered to the daughter of infinity. See again, Aditi. Literally, Aditi, daughter of infinity. That which is undivided is Aditi. And Diti is that which is divided, finite. Diti is the mother of Daityas. And Aditi is the mother of Adityas. So this is the difference between the great gods and the demons. Gods are those who live in the consciousness of infinity. So what did we offer? Her passion flower of love and doom she gave. So earth gave passion flower of earth, love and doom. This is how we give. And the Divine Mother brings this for us. So this is how the first canto beautifully introduces us to the epic, right straight away to Savitri, unlike the story in the Mahabharata. And Aurobindo in the second canto. And there is a very interesting history to it. So we have the first canto is about the day when Satyavan must die. And we are introduced to Savitri. And the second canto, where Aurobindo elaborates that Savitri has not come merely to accept life as it is and to show us a door of escape, but she has come to change the law here upon earth. So this is the distinction between avatars and gurus and yogis and masters of yore. Yogis and masters show us the way to move out of the sphere of sorrow. But the law of sorrow and suffering is still there. It is the law of karma, call it whatever, or fate, which afflicts all earthly beings. But when the divine comes, he comes to change the law. See, this is what even in our everyday life, national life, what should the head of the state do? He should change the archaic laws because of which there is so much struggle and strain in human life. He's not coming just to rule and favor a few people who feel connected to the head of the state and thereby they find their own businesses prospering. The head of the state must change the very law so that human life can become better. So Avatar enters into this realm, becomes like us to change the law. So this is what is described in the book 1, canto 2, the issue. And then we see from canto 3, we have a great takeoff point. The story begins. Now, why this is very strange? Because in the Mahabharata story, it starts from what here would be Book 1, Canto 3. Now, here we see the story about multiple drafts of Savitri. So, originally, Savitri started as soon as he came to Baroda, and it started as a small little narrative poem, Earth and the Beyond. But a serious writing taking up of Savitri started in 1916. So many people date it to 1916 because it expanded. But the theme was there already in as soon as he came from Baroda. So from 1960 he started. Now there were several drafts, several corrections. So book 1, Canto 1 and 2, if we read Canto 2 specifically about karma and many things, one can see that it belongs to an earlier draft. It is very evident. And in that process, Canto 3 was morning she has woken up, and then Canto 2 is where who is Savitri when she wakes up, how she feels. She remembers that I am here to take the challenge of this day. This day Satyavan must die. So she gears her up for the challenge, and Canto 3 should logically be that day has arrived and she goes into the forest along with Satyavan, and Satyavan dies. This is how logically it should be. And this is how it is, interestingly. So from Canto 3 here, the flashback begins. Or we can equally say it's not a flashback, but the story as it is told in the Mahabharata begins. That there is King Ashwapati. And then it connects in Book 8, which has only one canto, Canto 3. Simply because it is a continuation of Book 1, Canto 1, Canto 2. There comes Canto 3. And then we have the unrevised Book of Death. That's how it flows. But in between, Aurobindo expanded Ashwapati's yoga and Savitri's yoga a lot. So that's how we see about the composition of Savitri and several times that he wrote and rewrote. So Canto 3, Book 1, Canto 3, now the story begins after giving us a background. And normally we have in the story Ashwapati is troubled because he doesn't have a progeny who will take care of the dharma of the kingdom. That was why progeny were important. Santan, it was not for Vansh, but because the dharma by which the great ones have lived, somebody should be there to learn it. If they knew about heredity, that was something very interesting. Several places in Indian thought, we see that they understood heredity. So they used the force of heredity and they combined it beautifully with the inner aspiration. So that when a soul is drawn into a certain hereditary mold, because you can't change heredity just like that, then that soul brought up in a certain culture and environment can carry on the path of dharma. Not that this was an ineluctable rule, but it was a very practical and sound advice. So this is how Ashwapati seeks, desires for a progeny, and the yagna that was done in ancient times when one desired a progeny was called as Kamyeshti Yagya. So you want to beget a child, and therefore you do a yagna, and see how beautiful it is that even conception was not an unconscious process. So you first prepare yourself for the conception because you are going to have a child. So parents must be prepared. So today we speak about preparation, but normally it is economic preparation. You will have a child, financially you should be ready. Then comes emotional preparation. But this is a spiritual preparation, meaning thereby why do you want the child? So in ancient times it was understood that the child should carry on the dharma. That's why it was so important that you don't die without a progeny. Now those were days when a way of life was followed. Obviously now it is a different world in which we live, and we have to understand that much water has flown through the river in today's time. So Aurobindo in one line summarizes how beautifully Ashwapati desired for a child and undertook the yagya to appease goddess Savitri. Here in one line, Aurobindo completely summarizes it on Canto 3. The yoga of the king, the yoga of the soul's release, a world's desire compelled her mortal birth. She won't come down just because somebody wants a child. She can send some emanations, but it is there in the story that Savitri, the Divine Mother herself, chose to come down. So it is a world's desire. Now we understand this longing. What is this desire in the heart of earth? It is seeking ultimately for perfection. Perfection is not scale and rule. Everything should be to its utmost and all harmoniously fused together. We want a knowledge which is free of errors. That is perfection of knowledge. We want a love that knows no defeat, never turns into hatred, jealousies, etc. That is perfection of love. We want a bliss that is not shadowed with pain. That is perfection of joy. We want a peace that is not disturbed even amidst the battle. That is perfection of peace. We want a beauty that doesn't fade with the years. That is perfection of beauty, and so on and so forth. And we want all of them together. It's not just knowledge, love. We want all of them together, raised to it their ultimate divine possibility. We don't use the word divine. So this is called as divine perfection. And the home of this divine perfection is supermind. So world's desire, all kinds of desires. World is desiring ignorantly, but it is still desiring for this. That's why in the subconscious yoga, ultimately, why do people suffer? Aurobindo gave a very beautiful letter. When somebody asked that, why am I getting blows? Why has God singled me out? So, my bad karmas? So he says, Aurobindo says, blows do not come to you because there is something bad in you. They come to all human beings because they are attached to things that are in their nature transient. We are desiring, but we are like children who don't know what we desire, what we want. But mothers know. When a child cries, mothers know. This is because of heat, this is because of cold, this is because of problem of food. But ultimately the mother knows, ultimately the child has to grow up. This is the deepest need. This growing up, this progress toward this ultimate height. This need for perfection which we find nowhere. Mother has beautifully described in one of her prayers. There is a need for thirst for love that no human relationship can quench. There is a seeking for knowledge which one finds nowhere. No philosophy can capture it. There is a peace that one finds nowhere, not even in death. So all this desire, in ignorance, it takes the form of objects. We think if I have this object, we will get what we are wanting. Ashupati is now the forerunner who is there to tell all of us, well, it is not this. I know what you are seeking, but you are seeking something still greater. And until you get it, these desires will keep haunting you. So, to cut this knot of ignorance, this endless circle of desire, he is calling the Divine Mother's Advent. Because if she comes, only her touch can cure us of this malady called egoitis and desire to the level of not 19 but n, to the power of n. COVID-19, I am just using that. Desire raised to the power. Desire is Rakta Beej. You slay it, it multiplies. The more you try to stifle it, it breaks through in 100 forms. So what is the solution to it? The Divine Mother. This is revealed again. I'll just skip many pages and connect to the story. That this is the human malady that we desire, but how can this desire be ultimately fulfilled? It can be fulfilled only and only when we receive the touch of the divine upon our life. So, several places see how Aurobindo reveals to us. So, this is on page, this in the canto, the call to the quest. We'll come back and touch upon everything, but right now, Ashupati has desired and Savitri has come. She has grown up now. And one day while he is standing, he hears an Akashvani. And the Akashvani says, look at the human condition. They are desiring everything except the one thing needful. Oh, force compelled, fate driven, earth born race. Page 370. Oh, petty adventurers in an infinite world, and prisoners of a dwarf humanity. How long will you tread the circling tracks of mind around your little self and petty things? But not for a changeless littleness were you meant. This is not the history that we should repeat. Men were born, they lived, they die. Actually, even logically speaking, every one of us is born with certain capacities, faculties, maybe big or small, doesn't matter. For instance, everybody has a body. Everybody has a little bit of mind. Everybody has something of the heart. Everybody has something like a life energy. Everybody has some kind of an obscure faith, and everybody has will. Already all these gifts are there with us. This is raw material. What we do to these gifts is our part of the story. And how much more beautiful if we use these gifts so that when we go where, where we have come from, to her. So when we go, we leave this earth richer, more beautiful, more divine. This is the whole journey. But instead, we waste these gifts tracking around the same changeless routine dictated now by society, by parents, by teachers, by the world, by husband, wife, God knows, whatever. Yes, now by wife, earlier it used to be husband dictating. At least we have taken one step. The feminine is in the forefront. Or children. Just imagine a life dictated by children. How? Not that the child will tell you to do things. You are living so that my child can lead a better life. Accumulating money. Not realizing that wealth which is not earned by your hard labor is normally just spoilt and thrown away. But we think, oh, we are doing. So these are dictating our life. So this is what the normal round of life is. So the voice tells him that man is not meant for this changeless littleness. But look around, all this is happening. And this Akashvani closes on the next page, 372. That the human heart aspiration climbs very low. Human beings go to offer sacrifice even at the altars of a limiting God. They are willing to sacrifice if they know they will get so much riches. So this is what man is. And it closes by the wise who know see but one half of truth. The strong climb hardly to a low peaked height. The hearts that yearn are given 1 hour to love. His tale half told falters the secret bard. What a beautiful thing. There is a story of life that we are writing. But this is a story of life the bard, secret bard wants to write. So I image this always as that if you take life as a diary, the divine writes on one page and he leaves a blank page. In blank page, we have to write. Ultimately, his story is going to be fulfilled. But we say, no, not this. We write our own story. So he sees that story. He says, this fellow is... So he has to... His goal is clear. The secret bard. Now he has to introduce into the story something which becomes like a touch of pain. So falters. The secret bard, he didn't want to write this kind of story. But he has to write that story because we are constantly contradicting the divine will within us. So his tale half told. At the end he says, okay, one life, pages are over, wasted only in accumulating suffering for no reason at all. If only we would have opened to that original story which the secret bard is telling us, the life would be beautiful. So the voice tells him, his tale half told, falters the secret bard, the gods are still too few in mortal forms. This is the lament of the divine. Sometimes we should feel tenderly for the divine, that you want to create a world of beauty and light and love. You see, that's how compassion is born. That you feel that the divine wants to do all this. What do we give him in return? We don't even seek these things. He is ready to absorb all this. But only that at least we should value those things which the divine brings. So this voice tells Ashupati that the gods are still too few in human form. Now we see another introduction of Savitri. Several places Savitri is introduced to us. One passage we had read last time. This page 372. The voice withdrew into the hidden skies, but like a shining answer from the gods, approached through sun-bright spaces, Savitri. All that man has ever desired, longed for, aspired, she is the answer. How beautiful this is. They said, no. Don't say like that. Don't become a cynic. There is one who will come and break the iron law. That is Savitri. So look here, so majestically Aurobindo describes. We'll read a few lines, then we'll stop. But like a shining answer from the gods, approached through sun-bright spaces, Savitri. I see here just the description of Savitri. Advancing amid tall, heaven-pillaring trees, apparelled in a flickering colored robe, she seemed burning towards the eternal realms, a bright, moved torch of incense and of flame, that from the sky roof, temple soil of earth, a pilgrim hand lifts in an invisible shrine. This is Yogini, Yagyaseni. She is moving among the pillars of the trees. Trees are like pillars. But what is the state? Intensely concentrated onto the very highest. She is not going to accept anything less than the highest. She is not come here to pactize with the small, the low and the ugly and say, what can we do, sir? Life is about compromise. She is not here to compromise. She is here to promise, compromise, remove the promise, and ensure a greater fate for man. This is Savitri. So a world's desire, and who brings her down? It is the desire of the world which Ashupati embodies. He is the forerunner of the race. He has absorbed all that. Now he turns it into ultimate. He takes all these things and finally says, what you people are asking, I know. You are like ignorant children. You are asking for this and that, but I know what you are really asking for. You know, when Sahanadi wrote to Aurobindo, you know what? Hey, Lord, I have this terrible desire. You know what things? To eat lobsters, fishes, crabs. Aurobindo writes, see how people could write. This is the beauty of Aurobindo and the mother. Oh, you ignorant children. No, nothing like that. He writes as sweetly, eat your desire. Eat your desire. So this is how he embodies all these into herself. The mother embodied all, not only desire, this is a prayer of her. Let all desires come into me. She speaks of that in one of her prayers, and Aurobindo says, moved by the divine love, she once asked, prayed to the divine, may all sufferings of the earth come into me. Because of which, she fell so sick in that early years when she came to the ashram, before the ashram formed. I mean, there was never an announcement from today, we are going to form the ashram. It all happened naturally, spontaneously, organically. Why? Because life centered around Mother and Aurobindo. That's what the ashram is about. And life is centered around them. So she comes and takes a human body because Ashupati has taken this longing. And holding this longing for the very highest, wanting the ultimate remedy, the cure from the disease called desire. And its offshoots. You see, the problem with desire is that, like in medicine, when we give a medicine, we cure a remedy and create other problem, which is called as side effects. So you try to cure the desire by fulfilling it, it creates a side effect. That side effect is called suffering. So you are caught. Doctors can't cure. So again there is a new desire. After some time, you again try to cure it. You go to a doctor and he will prescribe, do this, do that, you will get your desire fulfilled. It gets fulfilled. Then you realize this is not what I was asking for. So you keep asking and keep fulfilling, and suffering multiplies, suffering multiplies. Behind it, the real disease is called egotitis. That fellow is standing, separative consciousness. Everything for myself, nothing for anybody else. This is mine, exclusively mine, mine and mine alone. So, well, the world is what it is. So, but Ashwapati knows that, okay, I'll bring something which is going to heal. This is a problem, ego. What can cure ego? Mother has said that the hour for ego is gone. You have to tell it to go. This is what the new world will be based on, not ego. So, but how will it go? By the divine love. Even human love, ordinarily, for a while, till it lasts, it releases us from the ego self. Human love does this magic for a short while. Sign of love is that you forget yourself. You think about the person whom you love and care for. This is how, its acme is seen in mothers when they have a child. How they forget their sleep, they forget their food in looking after the child. So that's why mother's love is supposed to be the highest that is possible. But any love essentially makes us forget even for a short while. Love is not wanting, craving, hunger, depending, demanding. Love is about giving. But human love doesn't have that force in it. So it doesn't last. But still, love in its origin, the divine love, that can heal. How? It can cure us of egotitis. The more the divine love invades us, the more we begin to forget ourselves, and more and more we become transformed and transmuted. One with the divine, not just with the divine within, but the divine in thought and feeling and speech and act. I'll read few lines from that and then we'll stop. What happens when the divine invades the human frame? It's marvelous lines with which we'll stop today. Page 24. So Aurobindo describes a long journey of ignorance, and then when we begin to seek the divine, conscious yoga, and then page 24. His thought stretches into infinitude. Why? Because the infinite has touched the thoughts. All in him turns to spirit vastnesses. Wherever you put that person, it will recoil and turn towards the spirit vastness, or seek to bring that vastness there. His soul breaks out to join the oversoul, that original Godhead which each of us is meant to become. We have heard about Supreme Soul, and we have heard about individual soul. Aurobindo brings this word oversoul. This is the Godhead. Each soul is meant to become. It identifies with that. It becomes a Godhead. His life is oceaned by that super life. And this is a marvelous line. He is drunk from the breasts of the mother of the worlds. Just imagine. People often ask, "Kis maa ka doodh piya hai?" Divine Mother ka. Just imagine what it means. Milk is knowledge and strength. It gives both. For a child, milk is everything. So he has drunk from the breasts of the mother of the worlds. Now we understand the image of the world mother roaming naked. People have misunderstood this image. Why she is roaming naked, topless? Because she is looking for those children who are ready, but they are not ready. So she slays the ego and drinks their blood. This is how, she walks. But she is holding always that heart of the Divine Mother, intense love. So she is all ready to feed us with the milk of the Mother of the worlds. See how Aurobindo reveals such beautiful new things through images. A topless supernature fills his frame. There is no end. Because one is open to infinity. She adopts His spirit's everlasting ground. Then she adopts. You are now my child. Adopted. Whosoever child you may be, that's no more relevant. Now you are my child. She adopts. Look at it. How beautiful this is. As the security of a changing world. So she has to now build a new Leela, create wonderful things. But the soul is always there, secure in her. And shapes the figure of her unborn mites. Immortally she conceives herself in him. In the creature, the unveiled creatrix works. Her face is seen through his face. Her eyes through his eyes. Her being is his through a vast identity. Everything in the person then belongs and becomes the Divine Mother's. Then is revealed in man the overt divine. The divine who is hidden is revealed in man. His static oneness and dynamic power descend in him. The integral Godheads seals his soul and body take that splendid stamp. So Ashupati has seen this secret. This is what is ultimately the grand fulfillment of humanity. Ignorantly it is seeking through desires. This fulfillment can only come when she takes hold of the human race. But before she can take hold of the human race, she must take hold of at least one being. And that one being is Ashupati, who will be completely given to the Divine Mother. So we'll trace his journey tomorrow, 5:15. I don't know whether there is an early dinner or not. It's not yet announced. If there is an early dinner, we will have the session till 6:30, and then we break into the Oversoul. We'll see. It will be there in the notice because there is a program in the theater. Thank you.